Hi, Professor. I'm going to be doing my presentation, as you know, on the terracotta figurines today. Before I get started, I just wanted to let you know this was the handout that I was going to give out in class to all the students. It's really not super important because you also see this slide, you also see this picture on one of the slides, and I'll go more into depth about it, but this was originally the handout. Okay. Bear with me, this is kind of hard to set up. Okay, so origins. Terracotta figurines were produced in the Greek world for over 4,000 years, with their main production period running from the 7th to the 1st century BC. In the early 5th century BCE, figurines began to be mold-made, and by the late 5th, early 4th century BCE in Attica, a new type emerged, which were the terracotta figurines depicting the masked comic actors, which is what we're going to talk about today. These theatrical figurines were affordable and widely distributed. Attica was only the starting point. Once produced in Athens, their style spread rapidly throughout the Greek world. By the early 4th century BCE, both Athenian originals and local copies circulated broadly, with finds appearing across many regions listed on this slide. If you look closer on the slide, it says a bunch of different regions, cities, islands in which these figurines were spread all across the Mediterranean and even beyond the Mediterranean to southern Russia to Spain. 14 of these figurines were reportedly found together in a single burial in Attica, meaning they came from the same archaeological context and originally formed a unified theatrical collection or set of character types. These 14 were later joined by one additional stylistically similar figurine when acquired by the Met, forming the group of 15 statuettes that we will be examining in this presentation. This picture is like the one of the burials in Attica. I couldn't find information about the specific place. I just know it was a burial in Attica in a tomb. So I found this picture online kind of depicting what that would have looked like. And these statues down here are actually the old terracotta figurines that I talked about that started in the 7th century. And on the next slide, I'll show you what the actual terracotta figurines look like. So these are the actual new ones, the comic actors that came around the 5th century. And this is the kiln that they used to make these figurines. So this is how it was made. Oh, I didn't realize that it's all backwards. Oops, I'm so sorry. Anyway, this is how it was made. So these terracotta statuettes and more alike were made through choroplastic production. By the early 5th century BCE, choroplasts, the craftsmen that made these statuettes in their workshops, used molds to easily produce the comic actor figurines, allowing for rapid, inexpensive mass production. Each statuette typically required 2-part molds, where there was one mold for the front, one mold for the back. They would press the clay into the molds, and then they would press clay between the 2 molds, sealing the 2 halves. Then it would be refined by hand, and any and all small details would be added, like the figurines' masks, features, the textures, or the folds in their clothes. Lastly, the figurines were tossed in a kiln to heat, and after cooling, they were brightly painted. The nude colors we see on it today is just the stripped down clay substrate. It's the terracotta itself. It's whatever is left of the once bright and colorful painted figurine. So just imagine this used to be all like colorful and brightly painted, and now this is all we see. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the stock characters. These are the character types, the masks, and what each role represents. So between 400 to 323 BCE in ancient Greek comedy, specifically Middle Comedy, there were a handful of standardized stock characters. About 7 to 8 unique archetypes appear in this period, most of which are represented in this collection. Some figurines show the same character type in different poses or stylistic variations, and some are near duplicates made from the same mold or a copied mold. Like as you can see, for example, the angry man, you see him, it's really hard to see backwards. You see him multiple times. You see him once over here. This is him, like he's hunched over and he's standing. You also see him over here, but in a seated position. So, and then you see like multiple statues look similar but are different, like the seated elders. You have one seated elder here, you have another seated elder here, you have another one over here. So they're very similar and they're different variations, but there is about 7 to 8 actually unique ones in this collection and in Middle Comedy in general. So The masks are especially important since they allowed audiences to instantly recognize each character type. The figurines essentially function as miniature records of theatrical semiotics. Just a small note, the Latin labels in parentheses next to each of the stock characters' names, like you see Senex Era, it's so hard to see, but these names that are in parentheses, they are not actually used in ancient Greece. They are not modern, they're just modern scholarly terms borrowed from Roman comedy to describe earlier Greek character types whose original Greek names have not survived. So this is the closest that we can get to referring to them, because middle comedy eventually evolved into other comedies, which eventually evolved into Roman. So that is why we use these names to help identify them, but it wasn't actually used back then for these statuettes because it didn't exist yet. Anyway, so you got the angry old man, which you can see in 7B. He's right over here, 7B. That's the angry man. He's got furrowed brows, sagging cheeks, open mouth. He's seen as like the authoritarian father or elder who scolds, obstructs, or judges others, often seen as the antagonist. You have the cunning slave, which is 7C. You can see right there. Just please look at the presentation that I sent you because it's really hard to point to all of them, but there are labels 7B, 7C, D, E, F, all down there explaining who they are. So you have the cunning slave, which is 7C. The mask usually has pointed features or a mischievous grin. Their role is usually as a plot driver. They scheme to help lovers. They cheat masters. They act as clever tricksters. You have the child holding nurse, which is 7E. Their mask usually has like broad-aged features. Their role is seen as the maternal caretaker. They are like an intermediate between the private household and the public world. Usually their body indicates a sturdy pose, usually holding an infant. And you can actually see that they are holding an infant in the image on the bottom. So some others that might be present in here, but it's just very difficult to make out, are the Willie Merchant. Their mask is squinting or a cunning expression. Their role is usually the trickster figure involved in bargaining, deception, or travel. Their body is upright, sometimes inferred to carry a bag or a bundle. You have the frustrated lover, which their mask is like soft, has youthful features, often have like a hand to forehead gesture. And their role is to be like the love-struck young man, helpless and emotional character. Next, you have the boastful soldier, whose mask is bold. They have exaggerated features, often wearing like a helmet-like wig. Their role is to brag, to be the egotistical warrior, have all this hubris, comic exaggeration of masculinity. They have this padded chest and muscles and this authoritative stance. Then you have the shrewd courtesan, which actually I think is in here. I think it's the one in the front row with the veil. Let me try to see if I could find her. I think it's this one. But again, it's really hard to make out, and all of the scholarly articles that I found only describe maybe like the first ones on the bottom. So that's why the rest is like, it could be in there, but I don't want to make assumptions. I'm just speculating here. So that's why I'm not saying this directly in here, but it might be. You know better than me, so please let me know. But anyway, this is the shrewd courtesan. Their mask is smoother, more idealized face shape. Their role is to be like intelligent, flirtatious, social savvy, female character archetype. And usually you see their body in like an upright posture, draped garments emphasizing elegance, which you can see in that one that I pointed to. So that is why I believe that this is the courtesan. Anyway, some other comic archetypes, specifically in the tomb group that we can see, are, like I described before, the seated elders, like 7D or 7F. You can see them here and here. 7D is like the elderly, heavy-set body. Seated posture showing fatigue, age. Mask is like, has drooping features, and this differs from 7B because it's less exaggerated, it's more pitiful than frantic, and this is the older, tired version of the old man character. For 7F, you see an exaggerated belly, a seated posture, and a gesture of indifference or laziness. You see like a grotesque mask, or common, which is a common type in middle comedy, the parasite, the drunkard, the lazy slave, types like that. This one is usually identified simply as a comic seated male, representing a parasite or a glutton type. There's also comic heroes with padded bellies or exaggerated phalluses, which is more closer linked to old comedy. And lastly, there's mourning or weeping figures, often seen doing like a hand-to-face gesture, probably lamenting something like we usually see. Everybody's always lamenting something. So there's a lot of lamenting in Greek tragedy as well as comedy, apparently. So that is what you see for a lot of these figures. So those are kind of the main unique archetypes. Most are present here, some may be, but it's hard to make out. And again, I don't want to make assumptions, so this is as close as what I got from the scholarly article that I read. Okay, so this is the purpose and significance. These figurines served as affordable, mass-produced theater souvenirs that ordinary spectators could buy, display, or bury. Forgive me, I'm still sick. They were not religious offerings, but instead they were popular culture statuettes used to celebrate, remember, or visually reference theatrical characters and performances. Their primary function was as miniature references for costume, gesture, and staging. They depict comedy and help reconstruct how Greek theater, including tragedy, looked visually, acting as a great representation of what the character types and costumes looked like when they were worn on the comedic stage as well as the tragic stage. The figurines symbolize theatrical identity, not real people. These comic figurines retain key features of Greek stage tradition, many of which were shared by tragedy. They help encode the visual language of Greek theater. Just a note that I want to make, these figurines are linked to comedy, specifically old to middle comedy, more so middle comedy. However, this is a great representation of the different character types used in tragedy, because although tragedy had different character types, they kind of adopted the same principle. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. They adopted a similar principle where they had these statuettes and they had different theatrical roles, so to speak. So it is a great link to the Greek stages, including tragedy as well. So there's a few reasons why this is significant. These figurines capture the moment when Greek theater shifted from individualized characters to reusable stock roles, like I said, the old man, the slave, the soldier, courtesan, etc. They visually document the rise of middle comedy's character archetypes and help show the middle comedy's evolution, as well as preserve the transitional style between old comedy, where I said before you have those grotesque padding, the farce faces, to middle comedy, where you have recognizable stock characters with domestic features and domestic themes. Because middle comedy texts rarely survive, these figurines are primary evidence of what middle comedy performances looked like. This collection specifically is a rare ensemble because finding so many types together in one tomb is very rare. The group found in the tomb reveals a complete package of recognizable comic roles, that these characters circulated together as a theatrical system, and how people collected and recognized stage types as a set. So, again, that's very important. I just want to go back for a second. This collection specifically was very important because it kind of shows us that these archetypes were used in a set, like how people like to collect collectibles. That was kind of like these figurines. So, lastly, the mold-made production shows, like I just said, that comedy was not just elite entertainment, and that audiences across the Mediterranean bought these figurines as collectibles. They helped spread Athenian comedy from southern Russia to Spain with their cultural popularity. So that's basically about it. I thought this was a really cool, interesting topic, so thank you very much for providing it for me. These are the sources. And that's it. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.